Hello, welcome to today's Q&A video. Got a couple things lined up for you and a slightly different kind of question for you this time. Alright, so we're going to get started. First one who sent in a question is DM Dave, and his question is, have you thought about maybe doing a post-game show type of thing after non-narrative battle reports? Sort of like what was the person thinking and how they or yourself adapted tactics in the game. Confessions here, that's actually what I wanted to do at the beginning, but honestly I got overwhelmed by the game so many times. Just like, wow, so cool, so awesome. My mind was spinning. I couldn't focus enough to even frame something like that. So it is something I want to do. The closest I came to that was some of the early Sabre bat reps where I did a mission debrief. Now, admittedly, that was mostly my perspective of, how the game broke down tactically and how I adjusted. I did try to input into that some of the how did the opponent respond or what have you, but you're right, it's not from their mouth. Okay, so I think it is something I still want to try, but it's been a while since I've been able to do a bat rep, so I think for 2018, I don't even know what year it is. It's been that kind of day at work. But in 2019, 18, that's next year. My goodness. I will go ahead and I think I'll try to weave that in. So I'll have to plan to kind of come down off that after game high enough to be coherent and discuss what we just went through. So thanks for reminding me about that, Dave. Appreciate it. All right, the next question is from Scrapper Austin. This is actually kind of a good one. He asks, out of all the games you play, what interests you the most and why? So I'm not certain if he's asking, which game is the most, but of all of them, what is the thing that interests me the most? And I have to say, the primary thing that interests me the most in all of these really boils down to the tactics. That's really what I like. Not necessarily small units tactics, squad tactics, platoon level tactics. That's what I really enjoy. Now, when you translate that to air combat, I love dogfighting, one-on-one dogfighting. So that's why these games really have an allure for me. I do enjoy all wargaming, all up to grand strategy, but the one thing that I really go for is that tactical level. So I want to be able to have to make the same kind of decisions a lieutenant on the battlefield would have to make, or a sergeant when it came to allocating or using his men to accomplish whatever particular mission is. That is, I think, what interests me the most. Now, because of that, bolt action, I think, interests me the most of all the games I do play. I've always been a World War II fan. I don't know what it is about that. Is listening to another channel, and I think he actually articulated it in a way I couldn't. So I think what I'm going to say is I'm going to copy what he said. I think World War II is a perfect balance of technology and manpower. It's not so much button pushing technology kind of combat, and it's not brute force combat like from before that. It really is where the different arms of the military had achieved a level of technology that made the weapons effective without being automatic, right? And I kind of like that. It's still up to the individual soldier sometimes, but the crew quality mattered more than the equipment quality in many cases, right? So that is why World War II appeals to me, which is why bolt action of all the games I play, I think is really the one I'm most interested in. It doesn't diminish the rest. It's just, I think, it gives me that experience of what was it really like. As close as I can get with a game on a table. All right. So I hope that answers your question, Austin. Let's take a look at the next question. All right, this one's from Nick at IdickBeer40K. How do you usually celebrate Thanksgiving, and is there any chance you could explain a bit what it is, as I've never really worked it out? Yeah, glad to do that. Thanksgiving actually isn't an American thing, but being here in America, we have our way of doing it, right? Canada celebrates it in Thanksgiving very similar to what we do in October. Ours is in November. It's the fourth Thursday of November. And other countries have some variety or version of Thanksgiving. Now, it goes back, in America's case, really way back to shortly after the Revolutionary War. Sorry for my British fans, but that's where it starts. George Washington had made, one of those kind of proclamations like presidents, leaders often do. He kind of started Thanksgiving, basically a time to, be grateful to God for everything that had happened in setting up this country. Okay, now the traditions that were already in place. It's just he was the first to actually make it a national thing. Now, it didn't actually become a real, what I'll call a holiday, until 1863, when it became a tradition for the president to each year, usually the last Thursday of November, to create a day, a national day of Thanksgiving, right? And it was the same traditions we have now. In 1941, Franklin Delano Roosevelt actually made it a law where it was going to be celebrated as a national holiday every year on the fourth Thursday, and that's just the way it worked. Fourth Thursday of November. Now, the traditions go way back to 1619, 1621, somewhere in that time frame. A little bit of dispute about where the specific origin is, but in either case, it all boils down to the traditions go back to that first harvest, and it may even think in terms of the first harvest after the Great Starvation, basically. When the first settlers came over, the Pilgrims came over to settle in around Plymouth, Massachusetts, they struggled desperately, and a lot of lives the first year, first winter and such, and they struggled with food, planting and everything. What ended up happening is they were able, in subsequent years, thanks to some interaction with the natives, who kind of taught them how to grow some of the plants and crops here the way they do. And as a result of what they learned there and the favorable conditions the following year, like 1620, 1621, the harvest was good, and they had enough to store up for the winter or what have you. And as a result, they gave thanks, and it was even in Britain. There's kind of a harvest celebration kind of tradition in various parts. I don't know a lot about that, but of course, when the Pilgrims came over, being that they were English, they brought that with them. And of course, the harvest season is the harvest season, whether it's in Britain or here. It's about the same time in the fall. And so that's how they started the traditions. And the traditions here center around, of course, gathering family together and the foods that are chosen. Now, being as an American holiday, we've got the American traditional foods go all the way back to that time, related to the things that were grown at the time. Pumpkin, it's potatoes, turkey, and those types of things, corn and what have you, those kind of delicacies. So that's the traditional Thanksgiving meal. Always got to have a turkey, and now some do ham instead. There's really a lot of. If you think about it, when they were preparing for this feast, they went out and hunted, so they probably had a little bit of deer. They definitely had turkey. Archaeology recently has kind of shown they found some of the remains during the various time periods, and during that time, there's a lot of turkey eaten, which is a great game bird around here. Now, here, I have to say, even though my background is Polish, we still, and it's only a few generations in, so we're not talking about being around for centuries, in the U.S., but we still favor the traditional American cuisine, which would be, again, for us, it's pumpkin pie for dessert. It's going to be turkey with dressing. I call it dressing at my house. People call it stuffing. It's the breading and the bread and it's made of bread, raisins, onions, and the gizzards and livers and all that kind of stuff in the chopped up. It's packed inside the turkey as you bake it and gets all the wonderful juices, and it's delicious. But anyway, that's in there. Mashed potatoes. I personally hate sweet potatoes. It's the only one thing I really cannot eat. But sweet potatoes are often in their sweet potato pie, sweet potatoes themselves. In my extended family, they'll have that. Cranberries, very traditional, because cranberries would grow in that area, northeast of the U.S. So that became a traditional staple. And so corn, obviously that's a big thing here in America, corn. And that's the basis of the meal. And we pretty much keep to that. After I got married, my wife's family kind of added in their little pieces, and I think the one thing they added that wasn't already part was macaroni and cheese, which is just one of those things. So that's a typical, what I would consider a standard American traditional Thanksgiving dinner. However, everyone who brings it, they bring their own family traditions. So because America is from all these different immigrants from all these different countries, there's going to be other flavors in there. I've had many Thanksgivings where there have been some Polish dishes in there, and I've enjoyed those a great deal. Some incorporate some of the British favorites, German favorites, depending on where they come from, right? And that's just how it is. So I hope that answers your question, Nick, and puts things kind of into some historical perspective and why Thanksgiving is what it is. Maybe you can kind of connect some dots with things that are over there in Britain with that harvest celebration kind of theme over there. Just think of it more as a national holiday here in the U.S. as opposed to a local, ad hoc kind of a thing, right? So those are the questions for this month. I thought I'd throw in a question to you guys. This one's a little different. This one is not as thought-provoking as the previous ones. This one I'm going to be a little more selfish. This last weekend I went to an event at the game shop, thinking it was going to be an escalation league kind of event. There's this I'm going to get the Marquez, whatever the Ultramarines planet is. Marquez's Thunder is the name of it. It's now, I don't know how many of you guys know that Games Workshop and World of Tanks kind of got together, and there's supposed to be a 40K version of World of Tanks. I don't know all the details. I don't play that. That's one thing I don't want to get addicted to. That would be too easy to do. But there's a sponsored shop event now for 4 weeks dealing with an escalation of sorts. The first match is 500 points, second one's 750, third one's like 1750. Anyway, there's Games Workshop puts out, here's the scenario, and here's the thing. It's not as public as the Conor campaign, but it was very much like the Tank Wars they did, or Tank Shock they did a year ago or so. So anyway, I went there thinking it's called Escalation League kind of thing, because I saw the points creep go up, and I was kind of building a list to kind of prepare for that. Well, turns out that's not what it is. It's a tournament kind of thing. So 3 rounds, and I built a list that was probably a little unfriendly, because I was planning to make sure I could get one model in there I wanted. I wanted to play with my Makador because I like it, right? So I could fit that into the first battle, but I couldn't add it because it's more than 250 points, so I couldn't add it to something. So I started with it, which was like bringing a cannon to a knife fight almost in a lot of cases. I did okay, but I really hurt my opponents, except for one. It was a close match. The score was 19-18, and it was close, and it was literally decided on the last turn. So I walked over pretty much the other two. I felt bad, but anyway, long story short. What if it is actually a tournament? So here I'm about to go into the next round, which will be this weekend after you see this. And I'm really thinking of going mean on this. I've mentioned before, I'm not too keen on me doing tournaments because I don't like what I necessarily become when I'm in my competitive mode. I mean, I've just I like being nice to people, but when I go to Adepticon, I think things are going to be a little bit tougher, not as, if you will, friendly. So I think I need to get over this, and I think maybe this is a perfect opportunity. So, my question to you guys is, what advice do you have about kind of preparing those mean, kill at all cost type tournament lists, and how do you not feel bad about, building something that's designed to tear someone apart? Okay, just what do you do to do that, if you do? Because I'm just trying to look for some guidance, if you will, some input. I need a different perspective because I want to enjoy Adepticon, and I want to enjoy these events here at the game store without being a jerk and without being that guy. And so Joker's already started the ball rolling and kind of put my words back on me about some of the things I've talked about in my videos. So I am definitely open to your input. Give me some advice about how you guys have handled shifting from that friendly play, narrative play, to going all out. I'm going to destroy, maim, kill, whatever it takes to win in a tournament setting. Now, I have no guarantees. I have no illusions that I'm so good I'm going to win something. But I definitely want to give better than I get, right? So that's my goal. And I got lucky this last time simply because I accidentally built a mean list. I don't want to do it by accident this next couple weeks. I want to do it on purpose, and I honestly would love to win all 3 games in the rounds. We'll have to see. Okay, so anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'm open to advice. Let me know. All right, see you guys in the next video. And if I don't actually get around to it before Christmas, I'll wish you a Merry Christmas now. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.